The Nitecore HC50 Headlamp. A lot of the flashlight companies are starting to get into headlamps. There seem to be two types of headlamps for the most part. For a long time, a lot of people have been using these plastic type headlamps like this black diamond one that I've been using. And more recently, over the past several years, a lot of the flashlight companies are starting to come out with their own headlamps. They want to get into the game as well. And I think the big advantage of these is that they're a little bit more rugged if that's needed. Also, I think the other big advantage is that they tend to be brighter. This black diamond, for instance, puts out 160 lumens, and this HC50, as you can see here, puts out 565 lumens. This light was actually sent to me by ThruNite for an upcoming comparison with the ThruNite headlamp, but I wanted to throw up an individual video on this one as well, and I'll put a link to Amazon down in the description if you want to take a peek at that. This is the box for it, how it comes. Here's the light itself, and just to show you before I get into the light what else comes with it. In the box comes 2 extra O-rings and the warranty card and the actually pretty lot of information on it, instruction pamphlet. Lots of information on there actually. I'll get all this out of the way. List price on this is $45.95. And here's the light itself. The basic gist of this light, the construction, is that there's the light unit here, and it fits into this rubberized mounting piece that goes up against your forehead. And you can angle the light up and down by rotating it here, and it sits just in these, again, rubberized two rings, or however you might term it. Essentially just 2 rings here, and then you can rotate it up and down, and the friction from that keeps it from moving. It's tight enough that it won't go anywhere, but it's loose enough that you can move it and angle it at whatever you need to. Angle it forward, angle it down, and it works pretty well. With this being rubberized, it's nice and pliable going onto your forehead, again, compared to the black diamond one here, which is plastic. I haven't really had any problems with this being uncomfortable, but I think these ones that are rubberized tend to be a little bit more comfortable. Because this is a little bit heavier, it has the top strap as well. It's adjustable on the top, adjustable on the sides. Weight difference on this is 6.3 ounces, and this one is 3.9 ounces. So it's a little over 2 ounces heavier. Is it worth the 2 ounce difference? I think the big advantage you're getting is the brightness. I thought that these were going to be more rugged. This is IPX8 rated, this is IPX7 rated, so not a huge difference. And for the most part, it's up on my forehead, and my forehead is staying pretty far away from the ground. It's not bashing into the ground. So I'm not sure I need the extra ruggedness of these metal lights, but they are going to be a little bit tougher. I think the big advantage, though, is that they tend to be brighter. Also, and this is, I haven't gone through a lot of these, but compared to this black diamond one, the user interface on the sort of true flashlight brand ones seem to be simpler. This one I've gone back to try and use it, and I haven't used it since earlier this year, and I still am not sure how to get between all the modes. Whereas these are actually pretty intuitive. It's pretty simple to work, and each time I pick it up, I can figure it out without having to revert to the instructions. So I appreciate that on this. This is powered by either 118-650 or 2CR123 batteries, and they go in here. And here's something interesting to note as long as we're talking about the battery here. This battery is labeled as a 3.6 volt battery. And one of the things that this does is that when you put it in, this will tell you how charged the battery is. So as I tighten it, if you watch the button here, it will flash. The first set of flashes is the first digit in the voltage. The second digit is the decimal point. So as I tighten this down, there we go, 1, 2, 3, point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interestingly, since this is rated as a 3.6 volt battery, and this is saying it's charged to 3.7 volts, that's interesting. Either the batteries are underrated, which I guess is good on ThruNite's part, it's a ThruNite battery, or this is just a little bit off, but it's an interesting feature. It tells you how charged the battery is. Also, when you first turn it on, after you've put a new or that's what happens when you first turn it on. Also, when you turn the light on, this will show up as green if it's more than 50% charged, it will, and it shows for just 2 seconds. It will be red if it's less than 50% charged, and if it is less than, I think, 15%, if it's almost dead, it will flash to signal you that you need to charge the battery. So another interesting feature, giving you just an idea of how much battery life you have left. The user interface on this, as I said, is pretty straightforward. There are 2 smaller lights here on the outside that are red, and then the 1 main beam. The way you get into the 2 smaller outer lights here is that you long press it more than a second and they'll come on. There's a solid mode, and then if you half press it, it will go into the blinking mode. Half press it again, goes back into the solid. The red light is great at night when your eyes are adjusted, you're somewhere dark. I'm always talking about all my flashlight videos about how great the 1 lumen output is, and in this case, how great this red light output is, because if your eyes are adjusted, it's very nice. It puts out just enough light for what you're doing in the dark. To get this off, you turn it off. To get into the main beam, you just long press, and then you half press to cycle through all the brightnesses. And it has a low of 1 lumens, it'll do it for 17 days. Half press again, it goes up to 35 lumens for 32 hours. 170 lumens for 6 hours, 15 minutes. 350 lumens for 245, and 565 lumens for 1 hour and 15 minutes. One thing to note aside from this here, let me bring in the sheet, is that depending on what type of battery you have, you can see this here, depending on what type of battery you're using, if you're using the rechargeables or the regular batteries, you're going to get different run times. You're going to get more run times, I believe, out of the rechargeables. Feel free to pause the screen if you want to see that. Now, aside from the main fixed beam, there are also several strobe modes, and the way you get to that is you turn it off and back on quickly. So off and back on, and it starts with just a regular flashing, and then again half pressing goes into just a quick blipping type beacon. Another half press goes into the SOS, and then another half press, and we're back to where we started. And then to get back into the regular beam, just off and back on, and then you can again cycle through them. So the user interface on this is very simple. Long press to get to the red, half press to change between the 2 of them. Turn it on to get to the main beam, half press cycling between them, and then off and back on to get into the strobe modes. Really very simple. Let's have a look at this Nitecore outside here. It's a little windy tonight, I apologize, can't help it. But this fits on your head just like all the other ones. Starting in the red light, you long press, you get that red light, and then you half press and you get the flashing red light. From there on into the low mode, and I'm just going to ramp up through them standing in front of the camera here. There's 5 of them, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to walk back in the field here so you can see. One of the nice things about this Nitecore light is that there is a lot of flood to it, so you really can see a lot of the stuff going around on the side view. And while this highest level is plenty bright, really the mid level, I'd say, is bright enough for most things that you're going to need to do. Here's the full brightness, and then into the flashing modes. There's the quick beacon, SOS, and back to the regular beacon. So there it is, back in the full brightness again. Nice amount of flood to this. This is a nice one from Nitecore. Check this one out, the Nitecore HC50.